I feel like we're kind of between phases, right? We're kind of at post summer, like we're into fall. It was like the bridge period, right? Bridge between fall ball seasons, winter kind of popping up. Um, you bridged that with the Atlas Cup.
For the second year in a row. Last year was the Indy USA Experience, and then
Right.
this year, the Atlas Cup at U.S. Lacrosse headquarters in Sparks, Maryland.
For those
Awesome
that for those
atmosphere.
that weren't aware, sixes format, right? Sixes format, kind of a preview, if you will, to the Olympics in 2028. Some more reps, I imagine some evaluations kind of going on. But overall, what was your kind of independent of the game? What was your kind of big takeaway of the sixes format kind of at USA Lacrosse headquarters down in Maryland?
I just think like there is an international buy-in to sixes, and that's where I think it's got to start trickling down a little faster.
Yeah.
You've been part of the PLL six championship series, which utilizes sixes. The
Yeah.
2-point arc, huge difference maker, which
It's almost like a different sport.
that it really changes things up not having that. But with that said, like just the buy-in from like it's a who's who. It was a who's who of lacrosse down there. Like on the U.S. side, Andy Shay and Tony Resch are the coaches. On the Canadian side, Eddie Camo, who Brody Merrill, Jordan Hall, like,
Yeah.
and it's not like they're like, oh, we're still figuring. Like they're trying new things. They're like really all in. They're
Yeah.
watching film. They're really breaking it down, and so they're trying to figure out what is going to work because their anticipation is like this is the LA 2028 Olympics that we're now preparing. We're close enough that we're preparing
Right.
for the Olympics with every contest that comes up. So it was just really cool to see that
Yeah.
full buy-in. And obviously this event happened this week in I think not this weekend but the following. There's the Super Sixes event up in Canada that's going to feature a bunch of teams, including the U.S. and Canada. So I think teams are like they're starting to really figure out like okay what are we going to do here so we can win in the Olympics on the biggest stage imaginable for sports.
Yeah. Obviously, we'll start on the men's side of things. Canada ends up, going 3-0 in pool play, kind of continuing their success really across all formats, but as it pertains to sixes, continuing their success there. What did you see from them that just kind of sets them apart from the other teams? In this case, there was it was just a 4-team tournament, right? Or round robin play, excuse me.
Round robin, but with a named champion. So we had Canada, USA, Haudenosaunee, and Puerto Rico. Looking at the lineups, the records kind of broke down exactly how I would have expected.
Yeah.
If you were just to give me the lineups and say, hey, put these in order,
Yeah.
that's what I would have guessed. The U.S. roster, they had 3 injuries, like just before and during training camp.
Oh wow.
So like Danny Logan was missing, Michael Sowers was missing, and not to take anything away, the guys who stepped up like Mick Kelly made some really big plays, and Ryan Drenner played amazing, which he's done the championship series.
Yeah.
But some key like Danny Logan is going to be a piece of this team moving forward. He is like the epitome. We'll talk about it. The epitome of the sixes athlete.
Yeah.
But Team Canada is just like so deep.
Yeah.
One thing we talked a lot on the broadcast about, the kids in Canada when they play box, they don't specialize until they get to juniors, which means until they're 16 years old, if you're playing box, you're playing defense, you're playing offense, and then you're off. So if anyone watched, like Jeff Teat one-on-one with Jack Hanna, Jeff Teat locks him down.
He's
like,
not a liability.
no one else could stop Jack Hanna.
Yeah.
Jeff Teat, he's the best player in the world, and he's D'ing up Jack Hanna. So it's like when you have guys like that, and he's just like one of many on that team.
Yeah.
When you have guys like that can D up some of the best, most athletic offensive players, and then go turn around and score 6 goals and a half like he did against USA. It's like their efficiency is just through the roof. Like every shot is on goal, and usually they're past the goalie.
Yeah. And in terms of, there's 2 things that I look at: roster construction, right, and then how are you managing the sub game, right? Because I think that's such a critical part. Are you going 5-man units that either go OD off, DO off, or are you saying, hey, here are my 2-way guys, and then here are my D guys, and here are my O guys, and I'm subbing D for O and O for D, and letting the 2-way kind of flexibility. Those to me are kind of part and parcel. Like how you approach your roster construction is how you're going to play it strategically, or how you want to play it strategically kind of goes into like how I want to build my roster. What did you see in terms of that?
I feel like that subbing game, I was trying to keep a close eye. It is so fast and furious. Like trying to analyze in game is really tough.
Yeah.
It seemed like it's kind of everyone's trending towards either two or three people stay on, and then you sub through offense.
Yep.
Canada did that a bunch, and if you watch, like, there's times where, you know, they were really effective at using the full 30, but not rushing things, taking advantage when, like, I was talking to John Grant Jr. He's like, we were, you know, above 60-70% efficiency when settled 5-on-5. We were like just over 50% in transitions. Like, unless it's a breakaway, just pull it out, which is amazing. So that's part of that buy-in. They're like really looking at the metrics to see. But it seemed like it's like you always send 2 to 3 back on defense.
Yep.
And then you can sub 1 or 2 guys off. And that's kind of what they were doing. It was like they had like a true D guy, 2 true D guys, 2 true O guys, and then 3 back and forth runners. And that's, when you look at the roster construction, it's kind of like that's really what both teams had.
Yeah.
But, you know, you get every now and then you get a teat back. You get a Ty English or like or Tarafanko playing offense. Yeah. And clearly they delivered.
Yeah. So Canada wins it. Who were some of your standouts on an individual basis, kind of across all the teams?
Jeff T was, without saying, he was the Tyson Award winner, so made himself clear that he was the best. I brought up Ty English. He was really fantastic the first game, and then kind of continued throughout the course of the weekend to impress. I thought he was good. Tarafanko just does it all. I mean, he really does it all. It was funny for the Haudenosaunee, Jake Piscino, who, you know, has a knack for scoring big goals, but like he would just, his whole, if you check out his highlight reel, it's just outside bomb. And it's like he didn't miss. He really didn't miss with those, which...
When you look at the conversion from like field or box to sixes, there's two things. Can an offensive guy play D?
Yeah.
Right? Can they like stand up on that end? And then our guys that are used to a pole, right? How do they perform with a short stick? And Piscino, I think, you know, continues to demonstrate, I think, his versatility, his malleability, and his just impact everywhere on the field.
When you look at the guys that are long poles that are playing, and a lot of them are box guys, and both sides, both US and it's kind of like you got to be able to have some reps and practice with a short stick. And you just said you have to, like, defense, I think, you know, yes, it's harder, but like offense is more like you really got to know the IQ, you got to know when to take smart shots, and then you got to be able to bury them. You saw in the USA-Canada game, US made like 2 or 3 mental mistakes, all of a sudden that's the game, and you can't claw back in.
As a forward look to 2028, you mentioned a few names. Any guys like, because we're still a couple years away, right?
Yeah.
We're still like 3 years away from that. Any guys that maybe weren't, you know, all tournament, but you're like, 3 years, like this is maybe the next crop, the next batch to like look out for.
Yeah, I mean, Colton Marquis, he did a lot for the Haudenosaunee. He looked really good. You know, he's going to be a big contributor on Albany's offense this year, so they're going to count on him. I thought Willem Firth, he was all tournament team, and deservedly so. And he's, you know, a junior at Cornell. Like, he is going to continue.
Weird.
Yeah, gotta give some love to my big red men. But on the Puerto Rico side, I thought this kid Chase Jackson, who was an NAIA kid, and from Weber International, and I was talking to Miguel Lozada, who's like the president of Puerto Rico Lacrosse. He was like, he's a sleeper. He wanted me to keep it hush hush until the games, and then he ended up being one of their top scorers. Played some great defense. So it was really cool to see. Like, he's playing against the best players in the world, and he's lighting it up and diving across the crease and scoring goals. So that was cool. So, you know, those are 3 guys I think are really going to make some noise. On the U.S. team, it's just so hard because they're all such known commodities. The Haudenosaunee roster was really interesting. There's a lot of, like, very young players, and I thought Colton Marquis definitely stood out. You know, Blaze Becker, you could see there was moments where he was a guy that they really liked. He's super young, but all those the young Haudenosaunee players, you could see, I think, got more comfortable every game as they went on.
Gotcha. Switching gears to the women's side, again, akin to like the men's, would you say just kind of fairly chalk in terms of like where we ended?
Yeah, I would. The fact that the United States beat Canada so resoundingly was a little surprising.
Okay.
I thought, based on how close things have been in the outdoor world championships and the box championships, I thought it would be probably a neck and neck game, but I think U.S. just came out, built a huge lead in the first quarter and never looked back. And then Chloe Humphrey were talking about it where do you go from here? Because she was the freshman Wharton award winner, won a national championship, won the world championship, won the Sixes championship, and now just won the Atlas Cup as the Titan award winner. So she's like,
it's
you put
amazing.
a contest in front of her, she's going to be the best.
I think you look at this past year, it's got to be like an all-timer. And then you just try to think back, historically, who's even had a freshman year specifically.
Yeah.
A freshman year, I can't think of anybody.
Mike Powell would be
that's what
the
came to
only
mind.
one that you could kind of like.
Didn't win the Natty that year.
Right.
Sorry, Mike. Didn't win the Natty that year. Came close, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean
that's what came to mind as well.
I was thinking if CJ Kirst had taken the Water Dogs to the championship and been the MVP of that. That would be the only potential.
But that would have been as a senior.
Agreed. Yeah. But I'm just saying, just in terms of hardware.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the year that Jeff Teets had, but again, he's a veteran pro now at this point. So no, she's
at that age. I mean, she is a supernova. I mean, I'm looking at last week's conversation with Abby Bosco about the WLL, and she can't get there fast enough. You know what I mean?
She might go straight to the pros.
It's incredible.
Command the big bucks.
It's incredible.
UNC is going to have to start doling out that Michael Jordan money to her.
All right, let's do a little bit of a forward look to what the competition is coming up next. Is it going to be like a rinse and repeat, all the same players? Do you think there's going to be some variety there in terms of giving some other men and women some looks? What other teams are joining such that there's a little bit more variety?
Yes, so for the Super Sixes in Oshawa, Canada and the United States basically have completely different rosters. So they kind of both took this take a 20 to 30 person pool approach and then split them up and have one play in the Atlas Cup, one play in Super Sixes. So it's going to be a very different look. Yeah. And some of the players that were not available, and also for the Haudenosaunee, I think they probably have another crop of guys that finished up the Man Cup and maybe were banged up. So there's a bunch of new players that are going to be in that Super Sixes event. Okay. A couple new countries. And I think there's 14 countries playing at the Super Six, so a little bit bigger. Yeah. But all of this is trending towards there's going to be a 2027 World Championships for the Sixes, which I think will end up being the qualifier for the Olympics in 2028. They're still working through those details with World Lacrosse, but you can see there's other events coming like the Super Sixes probably in 26 that will be qualifiers for the World qualifiers, which will then qualify for the Olympics. So we're starting that whittle down process. But every event gets a little bit more our guys, if I don't play well, I might be eliminating myself, or if I play well, I might be putting myself in position to be in the Olympics in 2028.
You mentioned it was a who's who, so we'll go deep cut for the loyal listeners and the true insiders. Who was the person that you went into it that you hadn't seen in 5 years, right? Or you're didn't have that on my bingo card, that cliche, right? Who was the person that you're here? You're all right, great to see you. It's been a while.
Well, so first people I saw when I first walked in, Jordan Hall. Yep. And then Jimmy Butler.
Well, Jimmy, that's what. Yeah.
So me, Jimmy, and Jordan kind of came together and took a picture, which is cool because that was a throwback to almost 20 years ago for the 2007 draft night in Denver, Colorado, 2008 draft for the NLL, where Jordan was the number 1 overall pick. Yep. I was picked by the Titans as well, and so that was kind of a really cool reunion. And then I didn't realize Brody was coaching, so it was cool to see. I mean, Brody, Junior, Jordan Hall, and Eddie Camo, that's a legends of the game. Also, past teammates that I really enjoy, other than Junior, who I just got abused by for years and years. But that was really fun, and obviously Ross Scott. Seeing him, he played for Canada, and he came over to say hello, as we were wrapping up, so we were still broadcasting, so I didn't get a chance to catch up with him, but he played really well for Canada.
To make that connection, Ross Scott, who went to West Lynn, Oregon, who's come to our spring break training for close to a decade now.
I think it was all 4 of his high school years he was there, and I remember being that kid's going to be... He's going to be something special. Yeah. And sure enough, here he is on the world stage. So that was really cool to see. And Will Mark, who won with the Atlas, came to our ice program.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a very fun week, as it always is. I thought one of the coolest stories I told. You can see the hat I'm rocking. SUNY Morrisville. Shout out Mustangs. So Chris Cooper, assistant coach on Puerto Rico.
Okay.
He is the current head coach at SUNY Morrisville. You know who else went to SUNY Morrisville? I've already brought his name up a few times. I'll give you a hint. He played 6 games at SUNY Morrisville and shattered every record for a 2-year college in those 6 games. He then transferred to the University of Delaware.
Jordo? Junior?
John Grant Jr. was so assistant coach for Canada, was recruited by Andy Shay, whose first college coaching job was at SUNY Morrisville.
Oh,
so the head coach of USA was the coach at SUNY Morrisville, recruited Junior there. And I was like, Junior, how did he find you? He's like, he came to this like Junior B All-Star game. And Junior said it was so funny. He's like, wait, you're telling me like all these guys are like aren't coming to like division or colleges in the US? And Junior's like, this is B. This isn't even the highest. This is Junior B, not even Junior A. And so Andy Shay brought a bunch of those kids to SUNY Morrisville. And then Andy Shay moved to Delaware, brought Junior with him, and the rest is history. And now 3 of the 4 ties to the old Mustangs program up in Morrisville, New York, are coaches on those 4 teams that are at the Atlas Cup. Yeah, I thought that was like a prime example of lacrosse bringing together the lacrosse world and it all coming back together full circle.
That's nuts. How's it working with Joe B?
Oh, Joe Beninati, consummate pro. He's great. Yeah. So we had the distinct pleasure on Friday night of the beautiful sunset, but for the 2 hours prior to its setting, just absolute baking. Like couldn't be hotter. It was probably 85 degrees, but just right in the sun. So I was wearing my sunglasses while broadcasting. Joe had his boards up above his eyes. I mean, it was intense. There was a lot of sweat dabbing going on.
A lot of sweat.
But then the sun went down. It was just amazing. Like you can check on Instagram and Twitter pictures of like this purplish, pinkish sky. It was really cool. But for those few hours where the sun was not down, it was an inferno.
That's real humblers too, right? When you're trying to call a game and you're like, you got a piece of paper up like this, you're going like this for the entire time.
I'm sure Joe Beninati has been there before, but it's probably been a couple decades. You know, he is used to the beautiful confines of NHL arenas now. And but it was awesome. It was great working with him. And then Glenn Clark also fantastic. Like I worked with him at Indy, and that was the first time.
Oh, right.
He was great and so different in their approaches, but like. It's amazing. I've been, and you can talk to this, I've been so lucky. Like, I feel like the play-by-play guys I've gotten to work with have all been so different in personality, and yet every one of them, like, so skilled. And when you get with a good play-by-play person, it's just so easy as an analyst. And I've been super lucky. I think, save 1 or 2 of those who shall not be named, like, everyone I've worked with has been phenomenal and very different, but, like, in their own way. And that's what's so cool. Like, Joe Beninati is like a NHL play-by-play guy. Glenn Clark is a radio personality, and like so they each have their own flavor that are both great to work with. Yeah.
No, I remember working with Joe B early in my career, and it was like, oh, this guy's like a real professional, like a real professional. And then to your point about the call, like because he does hockey, so he just stays on like the name to the name to the name. I don't know Glenn as well. Just gonna work with him before, but like you can tell, it's almost like you could tell what other sports that they like. They're malleable, right? They're supposed to be able to do like, but like they're kind of like they find their niches or they like get accustomed to doing a certain game, right, or a certain sport. And so like Joe B hockey, it's just like.
And sixes and hockey is a great like back and forth. I think because you need that. You need that descriptor.
Because the ball is just quick. Like And it's like you don't necessarily need a lot of filler. It's just like who has the ball?
Well, and as an analyst, it's tough. It's tough to like 1 to analyze in real time because it's happening so fast, and 2 to get in a full. You're like, and look what they did. Oh, and there's a goal, and never mind. Let's go back.
How quickly did you get over the whole like talking over a goal thing? Because it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and I remember saying that to Joe Beninati in our pre-call. I'm like, look, we're gonna talk over some goals, and he was like, I don't want to talk over goals. I was like, I agree. I was like, but it's going to happen, just based on the nature of the game, and it was good. I mean, it's again, it's like the action speaks a lot for itself.
Yeah.
So it's really about analyzing, like you said, the trends on substitutions. Like Canada put in a press ride at one point. Like you got to be able to recognize that and talk through that.
You got to be efficient with your words.
Just like they got to be efficient with the ball, you got to be efficient with your words. So that's what sixes is all about, efficiency. And I think USA Lacrosse did an amazing job making the Atlas Cup feel like a real deal, exciting event, and it was. And hopefully it's something that the United States and Canada can grow from and build on as they head towards 27 World Championships and then ideally 28 Olympics.